Welcome to this video for Chapter 2, the Marketing, Environment, and Sustainability for the MassComm 445 class. Today we're going to be talking about trends in the industry, and your text starts with a discussion of some of the major trends that have been happening in the last decade or two. And the list is here: economic recessions, overbuilding, increased competition because of the overbuilding, increased foreign ownership, globalization, and there's a variety of things listed there. One of the key notions of this entire chapter is that the destinations, tourism organizations have to be prepared to manage both the positive and negative impacts of the trends that are happening. In the video today, we'll be talking about 5 major marketing environments and the trends within those environments. But before we begin, we need to quickly define what is environmental scanning. Environmental scanning is either a formal or informal method of looking for what's happening currently and what we think will happen in the future. And the organizations have to identify what these trends are, what they need to learn from them, and then what opportunities and threats come from those trends. If these can be identified, and they can develop then new strategies for how to deal with either what's happening currently or what they think is going to happen in the future. The first of the economies discussed in the book is the economic environment. There are 4 important terms discussed in the book that have an impact in the economy. One of them is purchasing power, and that's the ability of consumers to purchase products and services. That's divided up between disposable income and discretionary income. Disposable income is an individual's income that remains for spending after they've required deductions such as taxes. So when you receive your paycheck, the amount that you receive after everything has been deducted is your disposable income. Many people use that term to refer to what we have to spend. However, the reality is there are many bills that we need to cover every month or every year, and those bills such as rent or mortgage payments, insurance, things like that are a requirement for us to pay. So after you subtract all of those, what's left is called discretionary income. And that income, after you've covered the basics of your living expenses, that money is where the tourism and hospitality spending comes from. Thus, if we're in an inflationary cycle and there's less money to spend, if we're in a recession and people are losing their jobs and other people are saving more money, that means there's less discretionary income and less income available for the purchase of tourism and hospitality. Economic and societal conditions can have a great impact on the level of tourism. The recent pandemic caused a rapid decline in the tourism industry. However, it has bounced back very, very quickly. Recently, the UN World Tourism Organization released their data for international tourism in the year 2024. It indicates that the tourism rates are back to 99% of what they were prior to COVID, and that the fast increase means that it's probably going to continue into the future. The 1.4 billion people who traveled internationally in 2024 resulted in $1.9 trillion in tourism spending. The second environment is the social environment, and that's actually one that is affected by all of the other environments that we'll be discussing today. So changes in the economy, technology, competition levels, government regulations or laws, all will impact the society, which will therefore impact the tourism business. 2 of the major changes identified there are changes in demographics. Our population in the United States is increasing in age. There's also changes in income that has to be tied to the economy. There are a variety of changes in the demographic profiles of the United States. There are also changes in consumer attitudes and interests over time, and they go through various stages. One example of a societal change is changes in food and beverage preferences in the lifestyles of individuals in the United States. So one of the questions that people have been asking recently is how are the views of both millennials and the Gen Z cohort following them changing what happens in the restaurant business and the beverage industries. So they ask, what has become more popular, what is less popular, and how are the food and beverage organizations going to respond to these changes? In this example of environmental scanning by Ground Floor Partners agency, we see an example of how PepsiCo has responded to changes in society. They noted through their environmental scanning that there was an increased focus in the United States on health and wellness, both from a societal standpoint and political, which means laws and regulations were being changed, and the company needed to make changes to respond to those trends. Two of the major things that they've done are to start to acquire brands that are more functional, require brands that are considered healthier. They also increased an investment in their research and development in hopes of getting healthier ingredients, substitutes for salt and sugar, for example, so that they could continue to have a lucrative soft drink and chip business while producing a healthier product. Concluding their environmental scan analysis of PepsiCo, the Ground Floor Partners group concluded that the long-term strategy is to make PepsiCo's nutrition business a much larger part of the company's portfolio than they currently have. And what they're looking for is good-for-you products, snacks and drinks that are made from fruits, vegetables, and so forth. The idea is that taking this from a $10 billion business that it is now to a $30 billion business by the year 2020. A third type of environmental scanning involves looking at the competitive environment to see what the competition is like. The competitive structure is defined as a combination of the buyers and sellers in a market, and your text outlines 4 different conditions of this: the monopoly, the perfect competition, the oligopoly, and the monopolistic competition. It's important that you understand the difference between those 4. They also talk about price elasticity of demand, and this is a measure of the percentage change in demand for a product resulting after a percentage change in price. So if you change your price, does it change the demand? In some cases, because of the competitive environment, it actually doesn't change the demand. The fourth major area for environmental scanning is political and legal environment, and it's critically important that you understand the rules that govern your particular industry. Sometimes those are laws, and sometimes those are ordinances, zoning, variety of other local types of regulations. So the focus here, of course, is to look at both the local zoning ordinances, the local laws, but as well as state, national, and international laws and regulations. Some examples in the travel and tourism business that you need to be aware of are regulations on the sale of alcohol. That changes from one jurisdiction or one area to another, from state to state. There are also special places where you'll have taxes on hotels, you'll have resort fees, you have energy taxes. There are a variety of different special hotel taxes and fees that are collected from tourists. There are also fire code regulations in the local area that these regulations limit the number of people who can be in a particular meeting room. They may limit the arrangement of a room. They may designate what types of emergency exits you have to have, the placement of smoke alarms, and a variety of other things. So it's critically important that whenever you open some kind of tourist destination, that you know the laws and regulations that are going to impact that destination. The final major area that we look at in an environmental scan is the review of technology and changes in technology and how it impacts our industry. The hospitality and tourism industry has always been a highly labor-intensive one because we're delivering a service. But technology changes have changed the way that we're doing business recently. Your text suggests that there are 2 major categories where we're going to see the greatest impact of technology, and that includes the focus on direct marketing and the idea that firms can now target consumers at home or work with their promotions more directly. We also have the ability to develop mass customization, and in this one, The organization, the tourism destination, has the ability to customize the experience of each individual consumer. So someone staying in a hotel, for example, will receive the benefits that they're most appreciative of, or they will get the greatest perks and so forth out of their loyalty program. In the next two slides, I'm going to give a couple of examples of how technology is changing the tourism industry. One example of technological change is the movement for more mobile marketing and the development of augmented reality. For years now, people have been asking what kind of technology trends are we seeing in the travel and tourism industry, and how might those impact how we do our business. The focus on mobile marketing is undeniable. The article here from Marketing Insider notes that we spend over 5 hours a day on our mobile phones on average in the United States. And they also note that in 2018, $86 billion will be spent on mobile travel bookings, and mobile accounts for 37% of travelers shopping for flights and 43% for accommodations. So clearly we can't overlook mobile technology when we develop our marketing strategies. A recent report by skift.com presents 7 digital advertising trends for the travel industry in the upcoming year, 2020. In addition to providing an analysis of those 7 trends, this report is an investigation of the most important ad formats and media buying strategies that will work with travel marketers, and provides insights into advertising themes like privacy, personalization, automation, and so forth. This report, along with daily briefings and a variety of other information about the travel and tourism field, is offered by skift.com. And I'd suggest, if you're interested in this field, that you log on and sign up for their free daily briefings. They provide an excellent analysis of what's going on in the industry. The final major section of Chapter 2 talks about sustainability and the notion of sustainable development. Make sure that you understand what the term sustainable development means and how the associated concepts of needs and limitations are important to sustainable development. Earlier, I mentioned the research indicating the dramatic growth in tourism in 2024, taking it back to levels that we saw prior to the pandemic. That growth, which has been amazing, has also strained a lot of tourist destinations that are very popular, and have raised questions about the sustainability of tourism in those areas. Many of the areas of concern are in Europe, and we've seen European nations limit the number of hotels and hotel rooms and Airbnb operations so that they can control the number of tourists. This passage from the CNN article also highlights some of the other issues. There have also been protests in Spain. A variety of different things are happening where people are very concerned about sustainability and protecting the tourism destinations for future generations. The definition of sustainable development provided by your text notes that the focus is on tourism and travel destinations operating in such a way that they ensure that future generations will benefit economically, that they'll have a clean environment, and that will preserve society. To do this, we use something called the triple bottom line. The triple bottom line is an accounting and recording system used to monitor our performance in the area of sustainability in what's known as the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profits. So we look at what the social impacts are, how it's going to affect people, the environmental impacts or the impacts on the planet, and the economic impacts, how it impacts profits. Because after all, this is a business and they must make some profit to survive. If you look on page 32 of your text and look at table 2.1, you'll see a bunch of sustainability indicators for both the hospitality field and the tourism field for each of the 3 Ps. Thank you for joining me today for this discussion of the marketing environment and sustainability as it applies to the travel and tourism industry. So far, we've talked about how society and a variety of factors impact the tourism industry, but travel can also have an impact on society. We talked a little bit about sustainability, and the negative aspects of tourism, but it also impacts things in the popular culture, such as the names of boys and girls. These lists have the most popular names for boys and girls between 2000 and 2020 that were inspired by travel. Enjoy and check the list to see how many people you know that have these names.